Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. Today, I'm going to teach you 3 fun fold cards that include a pop-up and a twist. Best of all, you don't need anything but a paper trimmer. No dies needed to actually make this fun fold card. As always, I'm going to include a project sheet down in the video description below. That's going to lead you over to the pictures, cutting dimensions, and all the supplies, not only for the card I'm going to share with you tonight, but also the other samples I have to share with you as well. Now, we love to interact with you during the YouTube premiere, so do me a favor and go ahead and log into your YouTube account, which uses your Gmail address. That's going to allow you to comment if you are here with us live right now in the live chat, or perhaps you're going to leave a comment if you are watching the replay. I come back and I read every single one, and your feedback is always very important to me. Now, with me in the live chat tonight, you're going to see a beautiful name in blue, Gina Curcio Hawley. Gina is my daughter. She's also an avid stamper. So we are both here to answer your questions during tonight's premiere. So we hope that you'll reach out to us with questions you may have. And if you love fresh ideas you have never seen anywhere else, you're going to love Stamp Studio memberships. This exclusive program allows you for just $5 for the whole month to get ideas every Monday delivered right to your inbox. It's a complete tutorial that gives pictures, cutting dimensions, supplies, and step-by-step instructions. But if level 1 is not enough for you, we also have level 2 at $10 a month, and it includes a monthly fun fold card, a discount in my PDF tutorial library, and of course I give random product prize giveaways every single month. You can find all the information over on my website under membership. All right, we're ready. Let's get started. We're going to start by using the paper trimmer, and I've got a piece of lemon lime twist cardstock here. Now this is cut a little bit different than normal. So this is 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. Now this card is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. It's going to actually work to our advantage, and you'll see what I mean when we're all finished. We're going to be doing a couple simple score lines. The first one is going to be along the long edge, and I'm going to do that at the halfway point, which is 4 1/4 inches. I'm using that ledge here at the top of the trimmer to keep my cardstock nice and straight. There's also one at the bottom of the trimmer. Now this paper cutter includes both the cutting blade, which is the dark one, and the scoring blade. I love that they can stay on the track at the exact same time, and that clear cutting guide is going to be really important for tonight's fun fold card. I'm going to navigate those up and down out of the way, just checking my measurement one more time at 4 1/4, and we are going to score. Now that we've got the halfway mark here on the card, we're going to rotate it so the short end is here at the top. We're going to line this up at 1 3/4 inch. Now the great thing about this trimmer is you're going to notice that there's a line that goes all the way down the trimmer here, which is going to ensure that your cardstock is nice and straight. So go ahead and use that ledge at the top, line up your extra lines, but this time we're not going to score, we are going to cut. Now my finger is holding the guide up here at the center, and I'm going to slide my blade up to position. Now it doesn't matter if you start at the top or cut down or start in the center and cut up. It's a matter of preference. I'm going to go ahead and drop the blade here at the top, and I am going to cut to the score line that we just made. So I'm just going to bring it down. Now I know it's impossible to see on the camera, but there's a little mark on both sides of the blade to indicate the markings of the blade so that you can easily see when to stop. I'm going to go ahead and lift that up, and I'm going to move over now to 3 1/2 inches, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, making sure it's nice and straight, aligning all those lines here. We'll drop the blade here at the center, and we will cut up. You can see now that we have 3 flaps. We're going to work on these now one at a time. I am going to flip the other 2 forward. Now I found forward works better because if I put it back, it creates a little bit of bulk, which could actually compromise the scoring blade, which is what we're going to use next. You're going to experiment with what you're using at home. But in essence, all we're going to do is we're going to create a diagonal score line from the top left to the bottom right. And this is where that clear cutting guide is a champ. We're going to put this in the paper trimmer. Now at the top of your screen, you're going to see that I have the corner here right inside that black cutting track. That track is where the blade is going to travel. You're going to need to pivot and swivel a few times to make sure that you've got the bottom as close as possible. Now, once you're happy with it, go ahead and close it. I like to bring the blade to the center, and I like to score this way and that way. And that just gives me an anchoring for the blade. Now that this one is done, We are going to go ahead and we are going to take this one and fold it down, and we're going to bring the center one up. Again, always top left to bottom right. So I'm looking to pivot it inside that track once again. Once I have it aligned where I like it, I'm going to go ahead and close that clear guide. I'm going to anchor my blade and I'm going to come back and forth to score. I'm making sure too that I'm applying a little extra pressure down here at the bottom because it's going to be near that crease. So just make sure you score it well. And now we have one more. We're going to do the exact same thing, top left to bottom right. And that's going to be important for the next step. So once again, I'm looking to align those the very best that I can. Once I'm happy, we'll close that door. I'm going to bring my blade into position, and then we are going to score. I decided to decorate these with designer series paper. Now, this is where that top left, bottom right comes into play. I've cut 3 of these, and this paper is absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot wait to share it with you. This is called flowering zinnias. Now, you may say zinnia, zinnia. It's pronounced a bunch of different ways. I'm sure you're going to correct me down in the comments. Please do. But this is an online exclusive product along with the stamps and the dies that I'm going to be using today. So it's not in any of the catalogs. Now, online exclusives are while supplies last, and you're going to definitely want to get your hands on this absolutely gorgeous paper. Now, Stampin' Up! Has been known for its beautiful papers for a very, very long time, and they are double-sided, which means you're going to have lots of options to use them. Obviously, one side themed, the other side very generic, so you can use it all year round and all kinds of different cards. I've got those 3 strips cut for you here. These measure 1.5 by 4. Remember that the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and the supplies are all linked in that project sheet, which is down in the video description below. We talked about upper left, bottom right. This is where it's going to be important because your designer series paper's got to fit those score areas. I'm looking here and here once again to make sure that they are aligned. My finger is holding up the guide because I want to anchor the blade once again. You are not going to want to start on those little thin ends because it may scrunch your paper. So just make sure they're where you want them. When you're happy with it, drop it and then cut it up and cut down. And then you're going to have your 2 pieces. I am going to recommend that if you want the pattern to stay intact, you're going to keep your pieces together. Again, we're going to do the next piece, top left to bottom right. I am looking to align it. I want to make sure that my finger is in the way there so I can anchor my blade once again. We are going to drop this and we're going to cut up and we're going to cut down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut one more for you. Now that we've got our pieces, I'm going to go ahead and move those slightly off camera to the top. Let's come over to here. I like to actually reinforce these score lines before I move on. If you don't want to, that's completely optional. You can do it once the paper has been adhered. What I like to do is I like to turn it this way so the flaps are here at the top. And you're going to take the first one here on the left and you're going to crease it towards you. This is a good time to check to make sure that your score line comes all the way here to the bottom. And you can take your bone folder and reinforce it. Now we're going to do the exact same thing now with the center one. You're going to need to have a little self-forgiveness because none of us scores perfectly. So just do the very best that you can. You're going to find that this project is very, very forgiving. And again, here at the bottom, creasing all the way to the top. Now, once those have all been reinforced, we are going to fold this in half, flaps down, and I want you to go over the center score line. I have found that this is not well reinforced. This will not work well when it's finished. Now that you can see the crease areas really well, now is the time we're going to add our designer series paper. Please keep in mind that if your paper has a direction, you're going to need to be very cognizant of that as you adhere it. Liquid glue is going to be your best friend, and I love my precision glue press. Now, this product is linked for you on my website under Shop My Favorite Things and then Craft Room Favorites. Now, I have small hands, and you can see how small of a gun this is. I love it because there's a very small precision tip, which means the glue is going to come out very, very small. I have very arthritic hands, and I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to squeeze this, but you're going to see it literally requires a tiny, tiny, tiny pump. The best part about it is when you're using it, between uses, you're going to put it back here in the carrier. Do you see that red plunger? There is literally a stopper between the needle tip and the bottom of the stopper so that it's airtight, and this does not clog. You are going to like it. This is a needle tip. It just screws on when you're ready to put it away for the day. I have actually left this out all day long, and it's been fine. I'm going to grab my first piece here. I've got its little partner there. I'm going to flip this over. Many of you like to use reverse tweezers. I'm not a fan, but you can go ahead and use that if you prefer. You want the glue here at the bottom to be as thin as possible. If you get a little heavy-handed, take it on your silicone craft sheet and give itself a little tap. This now is going to go here near the top. Now you're looking to leave a nice little margin around the top and that left side. And then once you've got it ready, go ahead and you're going to tack that in place. Let's go ahead and let's do one more of these together. Again, make sure you've got the correct partner. So if you've got a pattern going there, you're going to be able to actually get those lined up really well. It'll be really pleasing to the eye. Again, do you see how small I'm actually pumping this? I'm going to look now, once again, my hand is staying underneath the designer series paper, so that in case I have to maneuver this a little bit left and right to try to match the panel above it, I can slide it and we're going to press that in place. These are my next two, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the bottom one this time, and we are going to do the same thing. Now I know this is probably a little bit boring, so let me chat with you a little bit while you're here. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, I am so excited that you're here. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click the bell next to it and the word all. That's going to allow YouTube to send you notifications when I'm here and I upload new content. When I have a premiere, maybe you'd like to join us during the live premiere so that you can chat with us. We would love to have you. Also, over on my website at lisastampstudio.com, if you click on shop, you're going to see that I have a very vast PDF tutorial library. That PDF tutorial library has hundreds of projects for you ready for immediate download. You can get all the information there on my website. And then finally, I would love to add you to my weekly free e-newsletter because I provide you with a free project every week, not shared anywhere else on my platforms. It's simple and it's fun and it's great for duplicatable cards. Everything on my newsletter is informative, short, sweet, and to the point, so there's really no hoopla involved, and we'd love to be able to include you. All right, now that that's all finished, we're going to give that a really good push, and now we are ready to move on to the next step. We're going to want to decorate these. In addition to that, I want to make sure that you know that you can make these different patterns. That's the beauty of the package of designer series paper, right? Flip one over and then interchange them. Or you can make one white and one designer paper. So have fun, there's no rules. But for these, I decided to decorate using this, the Simply Zinnia dies and stamp set. So the dies actually have some pieces in here that work independently from the stamped images. Now you're going to see both of these tonight, but let's go ahead and work with the dies just a little bit. So I went ahead and I die cut 2 of the flowers, but I decided I wanted to add one more in, and I'll explain how that works in just a minute. So I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet because adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to this. This is my absolute favorite thing here in the studio. It keeps my table nice and clean. So I'm taking 2 different types of petals, and they'll eventually get layered like so. I'm going to recommend that you come up with the ideal location for adhering before you actually put them together, because it's a lot easier to do that when there's not glue there, right? So again, there comes my glue press. And I'm looking to interchange those petals so they are filling the center where there is a blank area. Give that a good push until it's secure in place. Now, if you've ever seen a real zinnia, it is very, very full and it cascades. So just for fun, I thought, you know what? We can add another one. So let's go ahead and do that. I can see here that I can actually work a petal down in here. So let's add a little bit more glue. Again, you can see how little I'm pumping that. We're going to take this now and we are going to work between there. The petals to the back will not be as full or prominent as those to the front. But the more you build this up, the bigger the flower is going to become. And quite honestly, the number of layers you put on is entirely up to you. Now you're going to want to make sure that that's good and dry because we're going to add a couple more pieces. Again, these are all from the die set. This came to be that beautiful, what I call pollen center. A little glue, and then this is going to go here like so. And then look at this. I loved this. So I'm going to flip that over, and here's that precision glue press. 1, 2, 3. We're going to make little tiny, tiny dots, and you can't do that with any other type of liquid glue this easily. And that's going to go right around the outside there, and I'm going to give that a good press and let that sit for just a few seconds to dry. I made another one before you joined me in Highland Heather, and you're going to see it here. You're probably looking and thinking, how did you get the petals like that? I'm going to teach you. Now you're also wondering, is that going to get smashed in the card? Yes, but because we've broken down the fiber of these cardstock petals just a little bit, it's actually going to retain some shape. But this is a tip I want to share with you because if you make 3D projects, this is a fantastic way to dress them up and make your flowers look more realistic. Once it's good and dry, I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. I've got a putty tip here on the end, and I've got my Take Your Pick tool attachment, and this time I have the paper piercing tool attachment. This dials out, there's a little spatula for getting underneath your mistakes. It also comes with a dual-ended stylus tool, and you get a refill for this, plus this one. It is a great, great buy, and I love using it here all the time. Again, you're going to need to be careful, so I want you to watch me first. I am going to take the edge of my tool here in the center of my petal, bracing the bottom of the petal. I'm very lightly curling it up against the edge of this tool. So all I did was I kind of went all the way around. It's very therapeutic, honestly, and just create some movement to these. How many layers you choose to do this on is entirely up to you. If you've ever seen this flower in real life, you'll know that the fullness is really at the center is where it's the tightest, and then it starts to cascade out. So I'm working more towards the center and adding a little bit of that oomph around the petals. Do you see how I'm bracing the paper and my finger is here and just a slight curl? It's too small of an area for you to do with a bone folder, so that's why I found the Take Your Pick tool works fantastic. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and do a little bit more. Now that we have those finished, those are going to be one of the focal points here on the front of this card, which is going to create an easel when we're all finished. And wait till you see the creative closure for this. I'm going to push these off to the side because one of the things I'm going to add here is actually a greeting. I've pulled out this word from that same stamp set. It says, "Words fail to express my gratitude." But for the life of me, I couldn't get a really nice solid image on those letters, especially because of my arthritis. So I'm going to bring in my best friend. And that is the Misty Stamp Positioner. Now let me show you how famous this thing works. I love that it has a very, very strong magnet with it. It's going to hold your paper in place. You're going to want to use the corner if you're using a larger single piece of paper. But I pre-cut the piece of cardstock for this to fit the greeting. And I know you're probably thinking, no way. Because I want to show you something really, really interesting about this tool that I have linked for you under my craft room favorites as well. I found that stamping on these smaller pieces of paper is a whole lot easier with the Stamp Positioner and with this. We're going to remove the magnet and we're going to remove the foam. We're not going to need the foam when we're using red rubber. I've got some scratch paper underneath there, but I'm going to bring in this. The Misty includes some accessories that work well with it, and these are the sticky mats. So there's a protective film on the top, which I'm just going to go ahead and release. I do save it. Very, very sticky at first. So I'm going to lay that here. I am then going to take that little piece of cardstock and I'm going to adhere it to the grid. And that's going to make sure that my paper is nice and straight. So I'm looking to align it the very best that I can along the grid, and we're going to tack that down. This now is not going to move. So wherever you're stamping, you're in good shape. If you're concerned this is going to slip, go ahead and add your magnet if you feel better. Take your greeting and you're going to lay it on top of the cardstock until you feel it straight. Once you have it in place, you're going to close up the hinge to pick up the stamp. You're going to notice that this doesn't lift at all because of the sticky mats. I love these. Now for this, I want my greeting in black. So I'm using my black Memento ink pad. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to take that to my paper and I'm going to press. And I'm pressing on top of the cardstock and I'm going to lift. Look how perfect that is. But it's not bold enough. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up on camera or not. But those letters are kind of a little bit cloudy. So you know what? Perfect positioning. So let's go over it again. And you can do this as often as you'd like with any image whatsoever. Now, if you're looking at this saying, Lisa, you just got black there. Don't worry, because this is shallower than any image you're going to put here. So you don't have to worry about it transferring. I'm going to place it right on top and we are going to press again. And I can concentrate on the areas I know I want darker. And that looks so much better. I've got a microfiber cloth here that's damp, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up. I have these cloths linked for you too under my craft room favorites. I love them, one wet, one dry. And I'm going to remove this and put that back in the stamp case. But you might be thinking, well, now what? Okay, so when they first get these, they're going to be really, really sticky. So I actually took it to my jeans the very first time and gave it a light tap. They actually stay sticky for a very, very long time. Now you're just going to very lightly lift it and you're going to peel it off. And that's what I'm doing here. So now we've got our greeting. You may have a little curvature to it, but just straighten it out. You're going to be good to go. And of course, make sure that your ink is dry. You're going to put the protective film back over the top of this. Now, I love the film for several reasons. If for some reason you weren't sure if your greeting was on there straight, stamp it on here first to see if it's crooked. And then you can compensate for that when you put it on the sticky sheet or the sticky mat. Don't miss the amazing accessories that work with the MISTI. You're going to absolutely love them. I have a separate piece of cardstock here that's going to border this. It's going to give it some stability for the easel we're going to create. This time I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite adhesive, which is the Stampin' Seal Plus. This adhesive is extremely strong, so you only need to add it in small dashes. And then I'm going to go ahead and border this on here, leaving a small margin of cardstock all the way around. Now once we have these finished, we're ready to start putting the card together and finishing it up. Back here to the card base, remember how we had originally folded these this way. Now what I want you to do is I want you to give them a little crease with your fingers going in the direction they're going to need to go to create the easel. I have found there's no reason you need to use the bone folder again. This is where these triple easels come into play with this twist. Wait till you see how this comes together. But you might be thinking, well, where are we going to write and sign? Well, this is where the rest of that bundle comes into play. I actually used the stamp set this time, and to make sure that I got a beautiful, crisp image, I used the MISTI once again to stamp those gorgeous flowers. And then I used my Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers to color them in. And I just picked up the same colors that were in the Designer Series paper. So this is Melon Mambo and Highland Heather, the same color as the flowers that are represented here. Let's go ahead and take this. Now this is one reason you're going to want to make sure that you're using alcohol-based markers on a layer and not actually on the base of the cardstock, because the alcohol is going to seep through the layer from the back side. Let's open up those hinges. You are going to want to center this, leaving an equal margin all the way around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our pieces for the front. Now you can make it flat to do so, which is how you're going to mail it in an envelope. I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to make the front one the words. Now I'm going to put dimensionals on this first layer. So I'm going to flip that upside down. I'm going to place 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to keep them very, very close, and you're going to see why in a minute. I'm going to remove those paper backings. I'm going to keep my fingers here as a guide. You do not want adhesive up here where the diagonal comes into play. So I'm looking down here at the bottom, and I'm going to create a nice equal border. And before I get too crazy, I'm going to look and I'm going to check to make sure that there's no adhesive impeding onto this area here. Now we're going to work on this area. Now what you use for adhesive at this point is entirely up to you. Position your flower first to get an idea of where you want it. I also know that this flower is going to need a leaf, don't you think? I think it's going to add a little bit of credence to what we're doing here. I went ahead and I die cut one of these from that same exact die set before you joined me. I'm going to be using the Granny Apple Green ink, which is a little bit darker than the one here. So I'm going to take a sponge dauber and I'm going to add some ink to the dauber, and I'm going to work primarily around the outside edges. So I'm keeping the dauber straight up and down. If you want to add a little color to the center, you can add a little color from the top. I personally liked this because I thought it added a little bit of depth to this and create a little bit of realism. Now what you can do is decide which ends you like best, and I prefer that pointy end. I'm going to put this one, though, on this side, and I think it's going to make sense to you in just a moment. Now, obviously, you can do that with a glue dot if you'd like, but I really am loving my precision glue press. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that here. And I want that leaf kind of shallow because we want to make sure that we're not impeding on any area here. Once I get an idea where I want it, I'll have to determine where the adhesive is going to go or the glue. So I'm going to add some glue here and here. So I want to make sure it stays away from that crease. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot it here. I can always add more glue, and that's what I call card surgery. Again, you might be worried about our petals. They're going to be fine. We'll come back to those. We've got one more flower to go, and this time I'm going to put it on this side. I'm going to add some of that liquid glue here at the bottom. And I'm looking and I'm deciding I think I want this to go a little bit higher to add some character. Just like before, you're going to determine where on this bottom section you want this. And I want this flower closer to this end. So I can see I'm going to need glue down here at the bottom. Again, glue dots, dimensionals, all those things work. You use what you have a preference for. I'm then going to place that here and I'm going to press that in place. Now, when you pivot these, there should be no adhesive sticking to this top panel. Same here. Now you might be thinking, what's going to help keep this easel in place? Let me show you what I did, and I have several other samples to share with you. These brand new shiny sequins are absolutely beautiful, and you're going to see that they come in an array of colors. Just to make my life easier when I'm creating, I actually take the colors and I write them on the inside flap. That helps me with my color coordination. We're going to start at the front. I'm going to use one of these that are called Berry Burst, but they're a little on the pink side, and because of their iridescent finish, they're really quite compatible with lots of colors. I'm going to fold this easel up here on the bottom where I want it, and then I am going to place my sequin. We're going to come back to that. We're going to take one more, and we're going to do the exact same thing. What I'm looking to do now is try to get these even across the top. So I'm going to place another here. Do you see how these are almost straight? Opening this one. We're going to come back up here to the top, and I'm going to want that easel right about here. And I'm going to press those in place. You can already see what's happening because that's a faceted gem. So the outside edges are standing up, which is going to hold this card in place. Isn't this stunning? And you know what I love about it? I love that you can see a little bit extra color that coordinates with the front of the card from the inside of the card as well. And there's still plenty of room here to sign and write. Same stamp set, I just stamped that ahead of time for you. Now let me show you the other cards I've created for you. This next one is also an online exclusive bundle called Latte Love. So stamps and dies, but look at those dies again. You've got some great accessory pieces to this. There is coordinating designer paper to this you are not going to want to miss. It has adorable coffee themes all over it, but let me show you what I created. This is the card flat for mailing, and the designer paper is called A Little Latte. Now this one, you're going to notice that I used some different gems, and these are called swirl dots. I wish it would pick up on camera, but it's not. There's a little swirl to the image of each of those. I stamped those little cups, and I colored them in with my alcohol base markers. I used the dies to cut out the little coffee beans and colored those with my alcohol markers. But are you taking a peek here at the inside of my card with the little coffee stains? That is because I used one of the designer series paper. And this says, "This one's on me." And I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect for me to tuck in a little coffee gift card for my receiver. And all I did was add that simply with a glue dot. Again, love that it's going to fit into an envelope and love that it's intuitive in how it's going to be displayed. This last one is for Easter, and I'm using the Easter Lilies stamps and dies, and these are from the current mini catalog. Again, solid petals and leaves so you can make beautiful 3D flowers outside of the stamp set itself. Now for this one, I want you to take a look at the stoppers for it. These are beautiful pastel iridescent gems, and they're tall and they're faceted. Not too tall for mailing, so you're gonna need a little bit of bubble or protection over this when you put it in an envelope, but I think it's worth it. This designer series paper, believe it or not, is from a beautiful package called Bright and Beautiful. So I kept the palette very, very simple. And again, you can see very, very little coloring. So this was quite an easy card. I did add a little bit of cording there to my flower when I piecemealed those pieces together. This is how it's going to look for mailing. And then again, when they get it, and on the inside, I put "Trust in the Lord with all your heart." Of course, would make a great encouragement card or a get well card or a sympathy card. So you've got 3 fantastic samples today that are fun fold pop-up easel cards, and they all have a twist. As always, I love to know your favorite. So pop down right now in the comment and tell me which one you favor. Don't miss that project sheet. It's down in the video description below. You'll find these online exclusives and much more over on my website under lisastampstudio.com and click on the button Shop. While you're there, browse around. We'd love to have you join my free weekly e-newsletter. Scroll right to the bottom and you can subscribe. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day, everyone.